Thank you all for coming. This is our inaugural Apex Big Data World event. So I'm excited to be here. My name is Sasha Parfenov. I'm an engineer at DataTorrent and a committer to Apache Apex. Today I'd like to talk about the RTS console and some of the benefits that it can bring for running, building, and troubleshooting your apps. So I was going to get a kind of a read on the audience and see if there's somebody who is not aware of what is an Apache Apex application or how it works. Or rather, how about everybody who has built Apache Apex apps before can raise their hands? OK, great. So in that case, with this audience, I can skip some of these slides. It's basically showing that Apex can read from sources and write to downstream sources. And the piece that I'm going to be focused on is going to be part of the visualization stack. So yeah, the slide is skipped. It's already been covered by other speakers multiple times. There are a number of benefits why you might want to use Apache Apex for your big data stream processing batch solutions. But yeah, the focus for my talk is about the visual tools that we provide as part of DataTorrent RTS, including the management monitoring. I'll give a little brief demo of graphical assembly tool. And we'll talk a little bit about real-time data visualizations, which will lead into the next talk, which is how to enable real-time visualizations for your big data apps. So again, this is just a review. This is only to give people who are not familiar context of what we're going to be looking at. But since all of you are experts, I can go past this slide. And as you're probably aware, if you've tried to launch Apex applications before, there's a couple of different ways of doing it. You can do it with the CLI that you can see above, or you can do it from the RTS UI console. So then the application gets translated as it gets launched from logical DAG, which represented by logical operators, to then physical DAG, which represents multiple partitions. And it's executed on a Hadoop cluster, which is managed by the resources there are managed by the Yarn resource manager, and it uses HDFS for the persistence layer. So we'll cover all those things and more in the demo. So let's jump into the demo now. OK. That's interesting. Live demos, always fun.
Check the Wi-Fi.
Yes, the Wi-Fi is good. But slow. Willett, you should sit closer. I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm running off Willett's hotspot. Thank you, Willett. The Wi-Fi here is not working. So if there are some folks that are sitting in the back rows, it's hard for me to see, but I'm going to be going through some visualizations and some views that may be small. So you're welcome to come up. There's plenty of seats, unless you're comfortable back there and you've got excellent eyesight or binoculars. OK, great. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So by default, when you install RTS, you usually end up on the welcome screen. And I'll just highlight a few quick features that are available here. You basically have links to some of the useful information for using DataTorrent, including learning more about it, how to run demos, how to create apps. If you click on one of these, it just opens links to our online docs available at docs.datatorrent.com. Describes everything about RTS. And this documentation also integrates the documentation that's available for Apache, Apex, Core, and Malhar. So you have a single place where you can kind of search and look at everything. And if we look over the high-level features that are available in the console, I'll just kind of go over them really quick, and then we'll dive into each individual one. So first of all, you have configure section, which allows you to change the system settings for the DataTorrent RTS. It also is the place you would go to enable security, to configure alerts, and see some of the underlying Hadoop system events that may be happening if you want to get more information. The develop section is where you add your packages, your Apex applications that you've built. And that's where you can manage these packages, you can view the apps, and you can launch the applications from there. Monitoring section is where you can view application metrics, statistics. You can see the running application instances. You can visualize a lot of things about them. We'll cover each one of these in detail. The visualize section is specific to the application data. So as opposed to the system metrics, which tell you how the app is doing as it's running, this is actually showing you your actual data that you're processing, and you want it to expose for visualizations. And finally, the App Hub. The App Hub is our online repository for application templates, application packages, and demos. So this is a great resource if you're just starting out, and let's say you're considering building an application. So as we saw in some of these use cases earlier, so we have, for example, yeah, let's look at this slide for a second. So a common pattern would be to, let's say, take input from Kafka, pass it through the streaming computation, perform transformations, enrichments, whatever have you, and then maybe write it to a downstream source. Could be Kafka, could be files on HDFS and Hive, Cassandra, etc. So to do that, you might want to start, let's say that your use case is, I'm going to take files from Kafka and write them to HDFS. You'll probably start with Kafka to HDFS sync application. So each individual package is a single tile, and it kind of describes what the package does, and you can filter their tags below. You can read its description. You can also click on a tile and get a much more in-depth description of what the application is about. We've included videos. We've included information about the logical plan, which explains to you what it does and how to start it. And there are links to resources, including the source code, where you can go and download this app and get going developing your own variant of let's say, ingestion from Kafka and writing to HDFS with your own custom transformations in the middle. So to import the application from the App Hub, so again, this is all of these packages that you're seeing listed here are available online, and they're not actually part of your local installation of the DataTorrent RTS. When you click import, what it does is it downloads the package from our online repository and copies it into your local HDFS space where you can start working with it. So as I've copied it, as you can see, I can now either click this link that after the import has happened, it takes you to the package, or you can click the link here because the App Hub now knows that you've imported this package, so it adds this additional interface. And once you've clicked on it, you're taken to the package. So that's App Hub. Some of the other features that you might want to see is there's a list view, which is easier to kind of filter by different names, descriptions. You can filter things individually instead of searching in aggregate. And you can also, if there's a previous version that you've seen and you can't find it here, you can enable that, and you'll be able to see all the previous versions that we've posted for the previous releases. So now let's jump over to the development section and take a look at some of the features available there. So for application packages that we've imported, there's a menu in the develop section called application packages. It lists all the default view is all the individual applications that you've imported inside all of your packages. Typically, we see one application per package, but there are cases where you might want to put multiple applications in a package. For example, some of our demo apps are packaged, multiple apps are inside one APA file. To see that grouping, you can always click on the package tile view and see each represented by a single tile, and then the applications that are contained within that package are grouped inside. If you take a look, and going back to the applications list view, you can pick any one of these and click on the application itself, and be taken to the application detail summary view. So this tells you, first of all, we support different types of applications, not only ones that are developed in Java, but also ones that are built with the Visual Assembly tool. I'll show you in a little bit. And those will be of type JSON. But by default, most of the straightforward Apex compiled apps that are put in the APAs are of Java type. You can see package details. You can see the application DAG, which is useful. And you can see some of the properties that have been set on the package. We've also recently added a new feature because, so from this application summary view, you can always launch your app. And you can keep the default name, or you can customize the name. You can also specify custom launch properties, and you can just fill them in with whatever values you want. They will modify the behavior of your application if you have support for where your application will listen to such properties and can be modified. You can also choose to add the default package properties to launch the apps. But let's say you've configured multiple fields and you want to preserve this configuration for the next time. So if you launch this once, then you have to retype all this information again. So you can either access this feature here, which is called configuration packages, and add configuration package name and launch the app, and all the settings will be preserved in a configuration package. Or you can, so let's see. So that's a new configuration that I've created, and the application instance was launched. Alternatively, from this view, so now we're back in the development application summary view, you can also hit configure, and you can create new configuration, just provide a unique name and create configuration from here. And again, if we go to the configuration view, very, very similar to the application view. The main difference is that allows you to customize the application with custom optional properties down below here, where you can, if you add some custom values and you save the configuration, they will be persisted. So every time, so if you have an application that you've built, but you're applying a lot of properties before launching them, this is a great convenience feature, because now you can not just go and start all over and launch it again and have to customize it again, but you can just jump to application configurations, find the one that you want to launch, and launch it from there without modifying settings at all, because they've already all been pre-configured. So that's application packages, application configurations. And let's take a look at one more variant that's available in the RTS console, which is it's a support for building JSON apps. So here's a very similar application, which is again PyDemo, but it's constructed using JSON syntax inside of our app builder. It is launched the same way by Apex CLI underneath. The one difference that you'll notice here in this view for the application summary is there's an edit button now, and you can change this application live. So here I have the, so this view is a little bit resized to be a little bit larger, but I'm going to adjust the layout. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the JSON PyDemo application, which is constructed using JSON representations. And the way you do that is you choose operators that are available inside your package. So you can create your own package, provide a lot of custom operators, and develop your applications in the app builder canvas. So for example, you can select, let's say, HTTP get map operator, drag it and drop it on the canvas, rename it, and then you can start connecting it to the rest of your DAG. And the compatible ports will glow in green. So I will discard this change. But you get the idea. Basically, all the operator classes get encapsulated in these JSON representations. Each one, as you click on these, you can configure their properties, attributes. You can see their port settings, and you can rename these operators. So they're fully configurable. You can build pipelines by just dropping the required operators, provided you already have them in your app package or you've built them in advance, and then you can connect the pipeline. So this could be really useful for quick prototyping of something that you might be trying to do without jumping back to ID every single time. Okay, so we'll discard these changes, and that's about the summary of the develop section. Next, let's take a look at some of the features that are available in the monitor section. So here in the monitor section, we can look at various apps. Let's take telecom demo, for example. The first thing you'll notice is you see a lot of details about how this application is running and how it's doing. So let me reload this view. I've been adjusting my resolution, and it's been jumping back and forth. Okay, so in the summary view, you see all the details of a running app. You can see the key indicators such as how long it's been up, how many tuples it's processed, etc. Also, to the right side, we included STRAM events, which are very, very useful in troubleshooting and debugging. And with the recent release, you're actually getting to see a preview of a version that we will be releasing in April. Some of the new features, if you've already seen this interface before, is we're doing STRAM event groupings. So for example, an error event for one operator might create a chain of restarts, container restarts that are required downstream, which impact other containers. And it creates, here's a sizable list of 6 events that really happened. Previously, we would display them all in flat manner. And now we're grouping the kind of like the root event and all the dependent events, all the events that are happening as a result of the system needing to restart downstream containers and operators. They're all grouped underneath. So it kind of makes the view a little bit easier to see what is the actual event that's happening and what are the downstream things. You can always go back to a view that's more similar to the original by clicking expand. And as new events occur, this information will be dynamically updated. So it will keep tailing the STRAM events. We've also included a couple of useful features here. So for example, an error occurred for this app, and you can click on STRAM event details and see the message immediately as to what's going on. Here it's saying that connections refused, so this operator depended on this connection and needed to be restarted. And if you want to, you can jump, not only see just a brief message, but let's say you're suspecting other things are happening around that event. We have a direct link to the log file from the container where this event has occurred. So now you can click here and be taken exactly to the same point. But then you can scroll kind of up and down and navigate around the log. So again, this is a nice convenience feature that we've recently introduced. Some of the other items that might be of interest is ability to see the logical DAGs and physical DAGs and inspect the metrics on your running apps. We also, so typically we would show like number of tuples processed and emitted, a good indicator of how your application is doing. But if you wanted to jump a little bit deeper into it, and something that I mentioned in my previous topic about debugging is you can enable the critical path view, which highlights which part of your DAG is taking the longest to process, or rather having the most delays. And then you can zoom in on this path. Let's say that there's an operator that's misbehaving or having problems. You can then jump to that specific operator, because you will kind of be focused on which ones to select. You can go to that specific one that's maybe having greater latency than others, and then you can see the details for that operator, how it's doing. Again, one of the new things that we recently added was the garbage collection logs, which shows you the GC heaps and how it's been cleaned up, and you can see the pattern here. There's a table where you can look whether there's a lot of, so all of these are partial GCs happening. If you go to the application level view and go to physical tab, so we're looking at a single operator there. But here, whenever it's available, you'll be able to see the GC view for all the containers, and kind of see the performance if you're concerned about long-running apps and there's memory constraints and applications having memory issues. This might be really useful as well. So this is just a highlight of some of the features that are available in the monitoring section. And there are many others, but they're covered in different talks. There's other features like tuple recording and everything else. And I think the last section that I'd like to cover is the visualize section. But I will actually do that as part of my next talk. So at this point, I will stop, and I will see if you guys have any questions. No? What's that? Thank you. Yes. If you're familiar with the older version, yeah, we're always improving it. And lately, a lot of the focus has been on debugging and troubleshooting features, which is really useful, because that's really what you need when you're trying to go from developing your app to production. All kinds of roadblocks happen. So that's been the focus lately. And you'll see more of these features when we release the new version of the DataTorrent RTS sometime later this month.
What kind of errors are still difficult to track down?
Some of the, so we've connected a lot of points for you. You can jump to logs pretty quickly, but occasionally you'll get things that, like, application launches, but it fails immediately. And in my previous talk, I've shown some of the things we've added. We actually do show you failure message now, and we have a whole screen. In the failed apps, you can see previous application attempts. But sometimes if you're using Kafka and there's partitioners and something didn't start up correctly, you can occasionally get in a situation where the app fails immediately, and even Yarn doesn't keep any logs, depending on your retention settings. And then you're like, what's happening here? Why did it fail? And then you have to kind of dig a little bit and figure it out. So we're trying to help you with part of it, and part of it maybe will provide notifications saying, hey, maybe you should change this retention setting within the RTS console. So you kind of know that, hey, maybe you could see more logs if you change this option. Yeah. Yes? Yeah. Is there a way to access logs from command line? Absolutely.
Running application.
You can, yeah, I can give you a demo of that. You just go to your SSH, and off you go, chasing the logs in across Yarn containers.
Okay.
And SSHing to every node, and have fun.
Okay, so I have to specifically go to the node where the containers are running, and then maybe hunt for the logs.
Yes.
Okay. So through DTCLI, is there like a central way I could say like DTCLI, give me the logs of all the containers? Or
So the CLI The Apex CLI, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Apex CLI will give you some of the information back about the running app and the terminated apps, and you can see some references to where the tracking URLs was and where the STRAM was running, and it will give you a starting point to where you can go and look. But it doesn't retrieve the logs for you. At that point, you'd probably jump into the Yarn tool, which can retrieve application logs if your retention settings are set correctly. There's a yarn logs command which you can say -a and retrieve some logs. But that's the command line approach. And then you have to go outside of the Apex ecosystem. You're now in a Hadoop space. So what we try to do is sort of bring that up to the next level and make it easy for you and put it all in one place.